Do you hear the people sing? It's one of the most powerful questions ever asked on a stage. In Les Misérables, the barricades rise. The oppressed cry out. Justice feels distant, and the tension between law and mercy explodes in song. But here's a question many Christians wrestle with. In Romans 13, it says, "Let every soul be subject to higher powers." Does that mean Catholics must always obey the government, even unjust governments? Tonight, we're going to explore Catholic teaching on unjust authority through the lens of Les Misérables. In Romans chapter 13, the Douay-Rheims Bible says, "Let every soul be subject to higher powers, for there is no power but from God." It continues, "He is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath upon him that doth evil." Now, if anyone embodies this passage rigidly, it's Javert. To Javert, the law is sacred. Authority is absolute. Order must be maintained at all costs. Jean Valjean broke parole, then he must be punished. The law is the law. But here's what's fascinating. St. Paul describes rulers as not a terror to good work, but to the evil. God's minister for good. Romans chapter 13 assumes government is functioning as it ought to, rewarding good and restraining evil. But what happens when the system punishes the hungry for stealing bread? What happens when law and justice drift apart? Some think Romans chapter 13 sounds naive. But remember, Paul wrote this under Nero. Nero, a ruler who would later persecute Christians brutally. Paul was not blind to tyranny. He wasn't teaching blind obedience. He was teaching that authority itself, the structure of civil order, is part of God's providence. Civilization is better than chaos. Order is better than anarchy. But here's the key. Authority is not absolute. In Acts chapter 5 verse 29, the apostles say, "We must obey God rather than men." This is essential to Catholic teaching. The Church teaches, if a ruler commands something just, obey. If a ruler is immoral, but laws are just, obey the just laws. If a ruler commands sin, you must refuse. Jean Valjean lives this tension. He breaks parole. He assumes a false identity. Why? To do good, to protect the innocent, to save Fantine's child. Now here's where it gets complex. The Church does not say break laws whenever you disagree. It says never commit sin, even if ordered. That's different from emotional rebellion. That's conscience. Now let's go to the barricade. Do you hear the people sing? The students believe the regime is corrupt. The poor are suffering. Justice is absent. So what does Catholic teaching say about revolution? The Catechism says armed resistance to tyranny is justified only if all of these following conditions are met. Number 1, grave and prolonged violation of fundamental rights. Number 2, all peaceful means have been exhausted. Number 3, resistance won't cause worse disorder. Number 4, serious hope of success. And number 5, there's no better solution foreseeable. That's a very high bar. The Church prefers number 1, reform, number 2, legal remedy, number 3, prayer, number 4, witness, And number 5, suffering rather than chaos. Revolution is a last resort. Why? Because history shows revolutions often devour the innocent. The French Revolution itself became the reign of terror. The barricade may feel righteous, but blood can blind justice. There's a moment in Les Misérables that perfectly captures Roman 13's tension. Valjean spares Javert's life. Mercy confronts rigid law, and Javert cannot reconcile it. If the law is absolute and mercy exists, then what is justice? Catholic teaching answers, authority is legitimate only when it serves the common good. The law must serve justice, and justice must be guided by love. Romans 13 says, "Owe no man anything, but to love one another." Love, therefore, is the fulfilling of the law. Love fulfills the law. It does not replace it. It fulfills it. That's what Javert could not see. History gives us real-life Valjeans. Early Christians refused emperor worship. Thomas More refused to betray conscience. Christians resisted totalitarian regimes under Hitler and Stalin. They did not rebel for power. They refused to sin. They obeyed God rather than men. Sometimes that meant martyrdom. Romans 13 ends with, "Put ye on the Lord Jesus Christ." That's the final lens. Political obedience is not ultimate. Holiness is. So does Romans 13 mean follow righteous leaders and reject evil ones? Not quite. It means respect lawful authority. Recognize government as part of God's providence. Never commit sin, even if ordered. Place God's law above human law. Seek justice guided by love, not rage. In Les Misérables, the true hero isn't the revolutionary. It's the man transformed by mercy. Jean Valjean shows us something powerful. Holiness changes the world more deeply than revolt. And sometimes the most radical act is to love in the middle of injustice. Do you hear the people sing? The church would add, do you hear the call to holiness? Because in the end, the real revolution is your transformation into a saint.